we are at a crucial time in British history. I genuinely believe that this is the last chance to save our country politically. And that's why what's happened in the last 7 or 8 days, it's almost a week since Ben launched Advance UK. And as far as I know, he's brought £100,000 in revenue in 1 week. Does that translate to 10,000 members? I don't know. I haven't been speaking to him. But it's going extremely well. And again, it hasn't been without opposition. And I've seen some of the people on YouTube and Twitter and different platforms critiquing and criticizing Ben. Well, what I would say to people that have criticized Ben and that have attacked Ben, and I'm going to come on to Rupert Lowe in a minute. People that have criticized and attacked Ben, you were calling out for this. You were saying we don't have a political party that could be radical and have radical policies and radical ideas based in a very strong ideology and that can actually make change in the country. People have been saying this. People are saying Reform can't do it, UKIP can't do it. I was going to say For Britain, they've gone. SDP, all the micro parties, they can't do it. It's not possible because what they need is finance, they need connections, and also they need an extremely charismatic, articulate and intelligent leader. And that's what Advance UK has got, straight out of the box. You've got to understand, I've got to know Ben over the last year. Ben is the finished article. He's intelligent, he gets what the problems are, and he's got solutions. And he can express them in a very winsome and almost humble and gentle way, which I think is a fantastic trait. So if you've been attacking Ben, I would ask you why. And I saw, there was one video last week and it came out on the day that the party launched, and it was just hypercritical and negative. So don't do those sort of videos. I'm not going to attack anybody. I'm not going to attack any political parties apart from Reform and the Conservatives, because they do need attack, because they need to be brought into line. But what Ben is doing is brave, it's needed, and I think it could be the political solution for the country. If he's got 10,000 members, and I don't know that he has, but I know he's got £100,000 in revenue come through the door, right? So he's got 8 to 10,000 members in a week. Micro parties would be absolutely drooling to have that sort of uptick so quickly. So what I would suggest for all the smaller parties and people that are floating and not sure what they're going to do, just get behind Ben. Join his party. It's going to be fantastic. He's going to have the Electoral College. It's going to have 100 people in it. He's got his leadership team. I don't know who's in it. And I'm just a guy. I am literally just a face in the crowd. I don't hold any position in Advance. I've joined Advance. My wife's joined Advance. I'm encouraging everybody I know to join Advance because I do believe that it can do what needs to be done. But there's a long road ahead of us. And it's going to be a tortuous road. And what we need on the right is we need to come together and get behind one party. Now, it seems that Reform are lurching ever more to the left in all sorts of different policy areas. And we're not going to that. I'm not going to attack Reform because that's not what today's about. It's about saying, look at what Ben wants to do. Ben wants to get into Parliament and repeal everything that has been destroying our country. He wants to leave the ECHR. He wants to repeal the Human Rights Act. He wants to get rid of the quangos. He wants to clean out the civil service. These are all things that Trump was doing in the United States. He wants to do exactly the same as Trump. Now, that is going to bring the whole establishment against you. And believe you me, there'll be dirty tricks. There'll be, no doubt, the security services will be unleashed on Advance. That is the sort of stuff that happens when you want to have a very radical agenda that's going to affect a lot of people's fiefdoms. Okay? So let's get behind Ben. I 100% believe in Ben. He's the only major politician to have signed the pledge, and as a result of that, we sent out an email on his behalf suggesting that people have a look at the party and if they want to join, because he's aligned with the pledge. So it doesn't mean the pledge goes anywhere, because we'll keep the pledge there forever, because we want to call people to account on those principles that are in the pledge, and that's what the pledge is about. So Advance, get on board, pay your tenner. In London, for a tenner, you get a coffee and maybe it's one of those horrible little wafer biscuits. In Northern Ireland, a tenner gets you an Ulster fry and a big mug of coffee or tea, right? So a tenner is not a lot of money to spend on joining a party. It's either a breakfast in Northern Ireland or a coffee and a bun in London. So join, Advance. Last video I said join Reform. That was just a bit of a Freudian slip. No, join Advance. It's really important that you join Advance. Let's look at the other option that's just been put on the table. And I'm equally excited about this. Now, I haven't joined it yet. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look through the website. I'm going to see what it's all about. But Restore, it's a movement. It's not a political party. Obviously, Rupert's in a unique position. He's an independent MP. He can scrutinise policy in the government, and he can have a lot of people coming behind him with a lot of finance and help him push our agenda in the House of Parliament until such time as we're coming up to the general election. And what I would like to see and what I hope happens is that Rupert and Ben grow the two movements independently, but in communication, helping each other out. As Ben said on one of his interviews last week, Ben has actually joined Restore. And Ben also said that I think he gave, was it £1,000 or £10,000, but he gave a sizable amount of money to the grooming gang inquiry that Rupert was going to run. So to me, the two things can run in tandem. So you've got Restore UK, you've got Advance, and these are all things that I think align. These are all things that I think are very, very closely synced and should be working together. And I encourage Tommy to get in touch with Ben and to get in touch with Rupert and have a sit down with Ben and Rupert. And I encourage Ben and Rupert to have a sit down with Tommy, because Tommy has Unite the Kingdom, which is attracting anywhere up to 150,000 people to some of those events. If we think about Trafalgar Square last year, it was a massive event. Filled every tier of Trafalgar Square. It was huge, and they were spilling into the roads, and it was absolutely magnificent. Peaceful, cultural, great Christian ethos, but welcoming to everybody of every faith and every background. Just an absolutely superb event. And we've had two more since then. We had October, Tommy's in prison. We still get a massive crowd, probably 50,000. Exactly the same in February, and believe you me, it was freezing in February. So Unite the Kingdom is the street movement. From what I can gather, I'm going to have a look at the website in detail. Restore is more of a lobbying movement, a policy movement, okay? And then Ben has got Advance, which is going to be a cutting-edge political party to take on the Tories, to take on Reform, to take on the Labour Party, take on the Lib Dems, take on all comers. And what I would like to see is people that are disgruntled with Reform. There's a lot of people giving off. They're in Reform. They don't like what's happened with Nigel. They don't like the way he's acted towards people, and people have been expelled from the party, etc., etc. Well, why don't you jump across and join Advance and see what Ben's got to offer and see what Ben can do? And why not join Restore? And why not come to the Unite the Kingdom movement? And finally, I want to talk about the pledge. And obviously, you all know the pledge is very close to my heart. Now, the pledge isn't mine. It's nobody's. It's the people's pledge. But I've been instrumental in a lot of the background stuff and promoting it. And I believe the pledge is the ideology of our movement. It's the conscience of our movement. It's the thought leadership of our movement. It's not policy. The ideas in the pledge touch on policy massively, but it is really restoring the intellectual and ideological foundation of the United Kingdom, what we stood for, basically freedom, equality, democracy and sovereignty. We all believe in a sovereign UK. We all believe in democracy. We all believe in genuine equality, which is, Lady Justice being blind. And we all believe in freedom. Freedom of religion, freedom of conscience, freedom of assembly, which has been cracked down on massively. So all of these things are vitally, vitally important. So what you've got now, and by the way, if you haven't signed the pledge, go to the pledge and sign up. We have never asked for a penny for the pledge. Now, the pledge actually costs quite a lot of money to run and keep going, but we've never asked anybody for a penny to, we haven't asked for a subscription, an annual subscription. But so signing up to the pledge is free, and it always will be. It'll always be free to sign up to the pledge. We may at some stage allow people to donate to the pledge because there are running costs, but it's not a paid for, it's not like at Restore where you've got to pay 20 quid a year, or even joining Ben's party, which is between 10 and 30, depending on when you join. It's free for everybody to join. I would suggest everybody, if you haven't done it, I know most people that are following me have signed the pledge, because we're going to get more active with the pledge as well. Because I think what we need to do is have movement on all of these levels. So Restore, doing what they're doing with their movement. And again, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I believe it's going to be a very powerful lobbying movement. I think that's a great idea, and it's going to be working on policy issues. Ben, the cutting edge of politics, and that's going to be difficult. He's going to get a lot of pushback from so many different sides. Everybody's going to be against him. But I think Ben's party, I think Advance, are the only party that can seriously make a change to this country. To me, Reform's gone. They've gone far too far to the left. And again, the whole debacle with Zia Youssef, when he literally stabbed Rupert in the back and could have got Rupert a prison sentence. Think about that. That's who's running Reform. Nigel, Zia, Tice. That's who's running it. Tice called us that lot. So I have no love for Reform. I want to see Reform either completely reform itself or completely torn apart so that Advance can come in and actually do what Reform should be doing. And again, I think as Ben has said, if Reform actually reform and Nigel democratises the party, brings it back to the right, starts talking seriously about policy that's going to save the country, then there's a possibility that there could be a coalescing between all the parties and they could all come under the Reform or the Advance banner. But as it stands at the minute, Advance has to challenge Reform, because Reform is not doing what it says on the tin. It's not reforming anything. And people will realise that as time goes on, and people will come over to Advance. And like Ben said, if you're a member of Reform already, well, you're not really a member, because all you are is a subscriber. Join Ben's party and you can be a member of Advance. But anyway, putting all that to one side, that's what we've got. We've got Restore, we've got Uniting the Kingdom, we've got the Pledge, and we've got Advance UK. All of them are noble causes. Every single one of them. And I think we now have a movement that can politically save the country. That brings me on to my final point. There's only two other ways to save this country. One is by a horrendous, violent civil conflict that would not save the country. It would destroy the country. Some people think it would save the country. And I can understand people being angry at politicians and being angry about politics. But believe you me, you don't want to be in a situation where there's pogroms happening in towns and cities up and down our nation. We need to try and sort this out politically. If we can't sort it out politically, I don't know what we'll do. But this is our last chance to sort it out politically. So to me, the civil disturbance, civil war, whatever you want to call it, as much as I know a lot of people are predicting it's going to happen, I think it may well happen no matter what we do, because some of the action that we'll have to take to get the country back on track is going to seriously annoy the left and Islamists. Both groups of people are going to be extremely angry. So no matter what we do, we may end up in some sort of civil war situation. However, the best option is to elect a party with a massive majority, so it has massive authority and a massive mandate to do what's right and to change things and to deport the illegal migrants, to get out of the ECHR, to get out the to bin the Equalities Act, to repeal a Great Repeal Act where you repeal all the crazy European legislation, where you get rid of the Supreme Court, get rid of the Quangos, get rid of the dross in the civil service that are lefties or liberals or Islamists. Get rid of them all. Sack the lot of them. That's what needs to be done. But that's going to create problems. That's going to create a lot of pushback. That's why you need a mega majority. So in the next 3 years, we need to build Advance from a standing start to a political party that can get into power and do that. And that's where I think Unite the Kingdom, the Pledge, Advance, Restore, we need to be standing together, shoulder to shoulder, against the controlled opposition, against any real extremist nutcases that are out there. We need to bring people together. So I'm not going to stand and criticise any one of those four components. They're all vital. And everybody needs to register to vote. And everybody needs to start supporting these different groups. And everybody needs to get together and stand together. And that means if somebody sets up another movement tomorrow, that's fine. Because, you know, this is what democracy and freedom are about. If you have a different idea, go for it. Set your movement up. I've run something called the UK Freedom Movement for, I don't know, since 2018. It's a few thousand members. It's like, it's still there. It's still a movement. And I'll be contacting those people. I'll be trying to get those people engaged in all this and explaining what they should be doing as far as I can see, or what we all should be doing. So There's room for loads of moves. I look at that thing that the one percenters are doing, the Shield, and one of my mates is involved in that, and he's been telling me about it, and it sounds absolutely magnificent. And I look at the people power that was deployed in Ballymena, and I'm not talking about the violence, but I'm talking about people taking to the streets peacefully, women, children, men, standing up for their communities. That needs to happen all over the country. We need to become a very politically active nation, right? Because that's the only way that we're going to say this. Every single man and woman that's old enough should be on the electoral register and should be voting at the next general election. And to me, if we can get Advance in a position where it's got 100,000, 200,000 members, it's got a hell of a chance of getting elected at the next election. And that might sound crazy. It might sound crazy at the moment. But I know what has to be done. So let's get behind Restore. Let's get behind Advance. Let's get behind Unite the Kingdom and Tommy. Let's get behind the pledge. If you haven't signed the pledge, sign it. Because the pledge is there to hold people to account. It's not about making policy. It's about having an ideology that we will go to those politicians, whoever they are, including Ben, and we'll say, do you still stand shoulder to shoulder with the pledge? And as long as they do, they've got our support. It's as simple as that. So I think it's an exciting time. I think it's a time of great change in the United Kingdom. There's loads of stuff coming down the road that would scare the life out of all of us, particularly when we're looking at things like AI and technological breakthroughs. But if we have a strong democracy, if we have a strong parliament, and we have very able people governing our country, we can take on any comers. And we can bring people together. That's what Uniting the Kingdom's about. It's about bringing people together from all backgrounds, from all religious faiths, and none. It's predominantly a Christian ethos. That's the way it is because we're a Christian country and that's our culture. But it doesn't preclude people from an Islamic background, from a Jewish background, from a Hindu background, from a Sikh background. Not at all. We need to bring people together. But what we won't have are people who want to destroy this country, whether it's far left communists, whether it's far right fascists, or whether it's Islamists. We cannot allow those people to prevail and destroy our country. And at the moment, the far left and the Islamists are doing a very good job of destroying our country. And that's what we've got to stand against. And I also hope that God sends a Christian revival to this country and people really get what Christianity is and really understand what Christianity means. And those of us that are lukewarm get on fire and lively in the faith again. I think that's a really, really important part of it too. But that's a piece of the jigsaw that really is way, way above my pay grade. In fact, all this stuff's above my pay grade, but particularly the spiritual stuff, because that's down to our Maker and our Creator and the Lord Jesus Christ. So anyway, enough of that. Enough of me waffling. You know what to do. Join Advance. Join Restore. Come to Unite the Kingdom rally on the 13th September. Join the pledge and let's save this country. You do all those 4 things? Oh yeah, 5. Make sure you register to vote. See you all soon.